Welcome back to the Hannahcast YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be giving you my updated Oscar predictions for the below the line categories, like casting and the tech categories and animated feature. Not international feature or documentary because I'm not as familiar with those categories this early on, so those will wait till later. These are going to be for August, and if I'm not mistaken, like 2 weeks from now is when the Fall Fests will begin. Honestly, next week's Best Picture predictions, they're going to be like the final ones until we start seeing some big updates. So tune in for that, and also tune in for, memberships, because I'm going to be covering the Fall Fests, or at the very least, well, I'm not going to be there, but I'm going to be seeing how people are going to be reacting to them, like seeing how the reviews are going. So be sure you become a member. It's like $2 a month. You get a bunch of other cool perks like emojis, badges, members only videos, members only streams, and early access to Oscar predictions videos. So yeah, consider becoming a member. It really means a lot. With that being said, let's get on with the predictions. Casting is interesting because this is the first time we've ever had the casting category at the Oscars. So I'm not exactly sure how this is going to go down, because there's the BAFTAs. Like, they can probably help us, but at the same time, they're also like very British coded. Like, they do nominate films that are again, very British coded. But at the same time, when it comes to the tech categories, BAFTA and Oscar do kind of align quite a bit. So, really, you could just take out the British independent films that get nominated, like Kneecap or whatever. Actually, I don't know if Kneecap actually got nominated, but, like, let's say Rocks, for example. That probably would not get nominated at the Oscars. So, we'll just have to see how that works out. But right now, I'm gonna go and there's also the Artios Awards, which is also another really helpful category, or not category, but a ceremony, because that is also that is a ceremony actually nominated on and voted by, casting directors. And they have some interesting patterns. One pattern that I always keep bringing up that they really like, they like child ensembles. They like those movies. For example, a couple of years ago, Are You There, God, It's Me, Margaret beat out movies like Air and what was it? What was it? Oh yeah, Asteroid City and Wonka for best big budget comedy casting. And then the year before that, you had Matilda the Musical, which beat out movies like Glass Onion and The Menu for big budget comedy casting. So watch out for child ensemble films, because those could definitely get in. And especially if they're not, even if they're not even competing anywhere else, because obviously, yeah, Are You There, God's Me, Margaret, and and Matilda the Musical didn't get any Oscar nominations, but considering they beat out some pretty big contenders in those categories at the Artios Awards, they probably could have gotten in for the Oscars. I mean, they wouldn't win, obviously, because the General Academy votes for the winners, everyone votes for the winners. So yeah, and the way I'm going to be thinking about how they're going to go for the winners, that I think General Academy members are going to think of this as the de facto, the de facto ensemble award, I guess, because there's no ensemble category, but they could probably use this as an opportunity to do that. So I'm going to be assuming Sinners wins here. I don't have it winning in the acting categories, but they could probably see Sinners as that kind of ensemble-y film that they'll put in casting. So maybe they'll do that, or they'll vote in casting. So right now I have that in, or at least I have that winning right now. Rental Family, that could also be a threat to win. I mean, you got the whole family vibe going on, and there might be kids in that. I mean, actually, there are a couple of kids in that. So, they could that could have a chance of winning if that starts surging. Then we got Springsteen, Deliver Me from Nowhere. The casting directors, they also like biopics, if I'm not mistaken, technically this year, because the ceremony was this year, but like A Complete Unknown won the Big Budget Drama Award at the Artios Awards. So again, be on the lookout for that. That sounds like it could get nominated. Jay Kelly, I think, is going to get nominated because Marriage Story won the Studio or Independent comedy casting category. No, drama casting, I should say. Drama casting at the Artios Awards in its year. And considering this film like has a bunch of interesting casting choices, like casting George Clooney as this kind, as basically George Clooney, and then Adam Sandler gets a really meaty role. I think that could get nominated as well. And then there's the fifth slot. I'm gonna go with sentimental value for now, but again, who knows what might happen, because there could also be Marty Supreme. Marty Supreme could probably do that. But, again, it depends on, like, how strong the competition is. No Other Choice, I'm not sure. Frankenstein, it does have, very, classic characters kind of being reimagined, which, the Artios Awards also kind of like. They did that with Wicked and giving it big budget drama. They did that with West Side Story, giving that, Wicked won big budget comedy, and West Side Story, the Steven Spielberg version, won big budget drama casting, and so on and so forth. So, there is but at the same time, Frankenstein's not anywhere close to Best Picture, and I like these kind of films usually do go to Best Picture nominees. So, and it's not like Frankenstein has like a big like child cast, so I don't know. Life of Chuck this is still a category where I feel like it could surprise in. I mean, again, look at Are You There, God Me, Margaret, and Matilda the Musical. Those movies weren't competing anywhere else. I mean, maybe you could say Are You There, God Me, Margaret was competitive in adapted screenplay, but considering how tight that competition was, to where even Killers of the Flower Moon couldn't get nominated, I think that said a lot about how competitive that race was. So, I don't know. I think if there was an opportunity for a shock nomination, it could be Life of Chuck, because again, the third act of that film does have that big kind of child ensemble, and it could just happen that way. And again, it does not need to be a box office success. I mean, look at, Matilda the Musical. Matilda the Musical was a Netflix film, and Are You There, God Me, Margaret was most certainly a box office disaster. So, again, keep an eye out for this film. I genuinely do feel like if there were like a big, wacko nomination, it would be Life of Chuck. And plus, the movie also does have the casting of a bunch of these actors that are pretty well known, but not like big name A-listers, like Matthew Lillard and David Dastmalchian. I really don't know if I pronounced his name right. I probably didn't, to be honest. So sorry about that. So, like, you have, and then there's also, like, the veteran castings, like Mark Hamill as the grandpa. So, again, we will have to see how that all goes. But, yeah. Then you have, the Smashing Machine and Christie. These are biopics. Ironically enough, they're both about, the Smashing Machine is about wrestling. Well, is it about wrestling or is it MMA? I don't know. But I know Christie was not like that. She was not a wrestler. So, we'll have to see how those movies go. Kiss the Spider-Woman, it is kind of reimagining, the original, and it's also like a musical. So, but again, I'm not sure. It was just an accident. Probably not Wizard of the Kremlin. Probably not Begonia. Begonia, I would not have very high up because no Yorgos Lanthimos movie has ever gotten nominated at the Artios Awards, to my knowledge. Poor Things didn't get nominated, and The Favorite didn't get nominated, so it's like they just don't seem to like Yorgos Lanthimos movies. The Secret Agent, Testament to Van Lee, Train Dreams. And I know a lot of people are going to try to do Wicked for Good. I know a lot of people are going to say that. Like, what? You don't have Wicked for Good on here? Look, okay? If this were just the general voting academy nominating these movies, okay, well, for one, we're just assuming this is in Best Picture. Assuming this is in Best Picture, which I don't think it will be. Like, it'd be a little bit more likely than I have it currently, but I still don't think it would happen. But like the general like voting academy, if this were nominated by just general voters, sure, because they didn't get, because I know what people are going to try to say, like, well, they're going to nominate it for casting this year because they didn't get to do it last time. But the craft categories don't really fall for these kind of narratives. They don't really do that. Like the craft, like that have. I feel like that's something that, you know, someone who isn't a casting director would probably do. But if we're just looking at the casting, the only, granted, I've not seen Wicked, but the only major casting, to my knowledge, that they make would be, like, Dorothy, and I guess whoever voices the lion. But that's about it. And granted, that is a child, but it's not like a whole child ensemble. So with that knowledge, they're not really making any new casting decisions. And yeah, they didn't get to do it last time with the first Wicked. But again, I don't feel like that narrative works with craft branches. Because craft branches, despite how everyone tries to, you know, say that they go for narratives, really they don't. They don't really go for narratives that much. So it is something to keep in mind. And I think even if Wicked for Good were in Best Picture, I don't think it would get into the Oscars for casting. Because they just don't really do that. They don't really go for narratives like that. One battle after another, I'm not sure. Maybe not. That's just tough. Wake Up Dead Man, I don't know. I mean, like, the first Knives Out did win the Big Budget Comedy Award, and the second one was nominated, but at the same time, it's kind of like diminishing returns. So it's like, it's probably not going to get nominated here. After the Hunt, probably not. Hamnet, A Ballad of a Small Player, I don't know. Admittedly, it is just like a wild west of, like, trying to figure out, okay, what's the most interesting casting that the casting directors would nominate. So we'll have to see how that goes. I'm not exactly sure, though. Yeah. And also, I took out Amziah King because I think that movie's just dead. It's not coming out this year, so yeah. I mean, granted, they have distributed it, but it's also like, is it really gonna come out? Probably not. Cinematography, or should I say, cinematography? Haha, because I have Sinners winning. Like, I feel like there's not really going to be any film this year that's going to have, like, more, like, big, showy cinematography than Sinners. It's a Western, it's a musical, it's got really large, you know, like, really large, shots, like, large-scale shots, like, deep colors, that one tracking shot in the barn, like, really, really cool stuff. Then you got Frankenstein. I think that's going to get nominated. I don't think it's going to win, which is weird because, like, only two of the films here I have are in Best Picture, and really the only one I'm and even with Springsteen, I'm not very confident that's going to get a cinematography nomination, because it just might not get nominated. But there's not really any other Best Picture films at the moment that kind of feel like cinematography nominations. But yeah, Frankenstein, that could get nominated. It looks very colorful, very vibrant. So yeah, Springsteen, again, like I said, maybe it does have some black and white, but I don't know if it's just going to be that strong in this specific category. So I don't know. Anemone is interesting because that is a movie where, like, you look at the shots in the trailer and it's like, oh my God, it looks gorgeous. So I think it might get in. And also, like, you can get a lone cinematography nomination if you're just that showy of a cinematographer or a cinematography contender. The shots look gorgeous. The contrast between light and dark is great. The colors are great. The imagery is weird. It looks cool. And then there's Ballad of a Small Player. And again, god damn, the cinematography looks great. Like, very deep colors in this. Like, there's a lot of really, really cool, colorful movies this year. And I could see this getting nominated. Even if this weren't in Best Picture, it could probably still pull it off. Again, there's not a whole lot of competition in cinematography when you really think about it. So it could probably just get in there. But at the same time, that would mean I have it in adapted screenplay and cinematography. Those are pretty good nominations that it wants to have if it wants to be in Best Picture. So I do think there is a chance we could be sleeping on that. Kiss of the Spider-Woman. again, there is a chance this could come along for cinematography. Even if it's not really competitive in picture, it just looks very showy. Like, the lighting looks so good. The colors look great. It looks like the kind of, like, you know, movie musical we don't really get a lot these days. So that could definitely get nominated. Train Dreams, admittedly, it just might not happen because, you know, like, it's just a little bit too low-key, and this might not be anywhere near Netflix's top priority. And granted, one could say the same thing about Bardo, but Bardo was also really, really showy. And granted, I've only seen a trailer for Train Dreams, but it doesn't look anywhere near as showy as Bardo did. So, again, we'll have to see. Avatar Fire and Ash, if the field gets really, really weak, maybe this happens. But it would be weird for, like, Avatar to do very well with nominations, and then the second film gets, like, 4 nominations, and then this one bounces back up. Again, not impossible depending on the competition, but wow. Wake Up Dead Man and Knives Out Mystery. It's weird, the shadows and the colors look great, but something about the lens just looks very standard. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, I think, ironically enough, if the lens felt more flat and the imagery looked more flat, it would be a lot more stunning to look at. But here, it's just, like, very kind of standard-looking lens, and, you know, it does have great lighting and colors, but nothing else about it seems all that interesting. But again, we'll have to see. Begonia... Even with the trailer, nothing really stands out about the cinematography and that, so probably not. No Other Choice, I don't know. It still looks pretty contemporary. Wicked for Good, again, if this were in Best Picture, it probably will get in, but I don't have it in Best Picture. And I think it could end up being the kind of Best Picture flop this year. Marty Supreme, even after that trailer, and even though I do have Marty Supreme in Best Picture, I still don't see it getting a cinematography nomination. It doesn't look all that, like, crazy in terms of cinematography. I'm really thinking this could be like the conclave of the year. Like, where it gets nominated a few places, but it just doesn't get nominated for the Oscar because it's just not that impressive in the grand scheme of things. Hamnet, we did get a trailer today, and I'm not that impressed. I'm just like, oh, okay, just kind of... The cinematography just kind of looks like it just exists, so I'm not really too concerned about that getting a nomination. The Testament of Anne Lee, we don't have a trailer. We have a couple of images. I'm not sold on it so far, but we'll have to see. Nouvelle Vague, I mean, this isn't black and white, but it's also not very stylized black and white. Like, it's not like, you know, El Conde, or even, you know, The Girl with the Needle. It's not stylized like those movies. It just so happens to be black and white. So probably not. The Phoenician Scheme, Sentimental Value, One Battle After Another. I genuinely don't know why anyone's trying to predict One Battle After Another. I mean, yeah, it does. It is in Vista. It was filmed in VistaVision, but it's also like nothing about the cinematography looks that interesting. Like nothing about it at all. This would have to be such a weird contender, like, you know, like The Irishman, where they just start nominating it in categories that it doesn't need to get nominated in. But I don't think that's going to be One Battle After Another, if I'm going to be completely honest. Film editing. Alright, I still have Sinners at number 1. Because, like, it's a musical, it's like an action film as well, and the pacing's really good. I think it could get nominated here. Sentimental Value, because it's just that strong in Best Picture, it'll probably get nominated. Marty Supreme, now that I have it in Best Picture, I do have it getting nominated for film editing, because if it's a sports movie in Best Picture, you bet your ass it's going to get nominated. Oh my god. Like, and even, you know, movies that did not get Best Picture nominated, but still got editing nominations, like, I, Tonya, still a sports movie, and still somewhat Best Picture adjacent. Like, it was probably in the top... Oh, you should know, it was definitely in the top 15 somewhere. So, yeah, I really... At this point, like, if Marty Supreme is in Best Picture, it only makes sense to put it in editing. Jay Kelly I have in Best Film Editing, because, again, it's probably just going to be that strong. And same thing with Rental Family. And that's the thing! I am sticking to Best Picture films until proven otherwise. Or at least, or if there's a Best Picture adjacent film that feels strong enough, because I remember I tried predicting challengers for film editing. But that did not work out, and instead it got 0 nominations. And I should have realized, it wasn't anywhere close to Best Picture, so of course it wasn't going to get an editing nomination. So there's that. Is this thing on? We did get a trailer for this today, and I'm very impressed. There is a chance. There is a legit chance that this could be like a late-breaking hit, and I currently have it in Best Picture. So, like, if the movie is paced like the trailer is, it looks like it's going to be really intense. Like, at least from, like, you know, a personal, like, awkwardness perspective, it looks really, really intense. So I'm floating with that idea, honestly, for editing. One battle after another. I mean, it is like an action movie-ish, but it's also like not that strong in Best Picture at all. Like, like there is a chance it could just slip out of Best Picture entirely, to be honest. Like, it could just do that. So, I don't know. And if it's just not that strong in Best Picture, it's probably not going to get nominated for editing. Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. It was just an accident. And Avatar, Fire and Ash. I only have them in the top 10 because Best Picture, but they're probably not going to happen. Begonia, I don't know. Ballad of a Small Player, if that gets into Best Picture, that's definitely an editing contender. Because, like, it definitely looks like that could be a film that is kind of, like, very showy in its editing. So maybe. No other choice. I mean, if it's in Best Picture, then probably, yeah. Wicked for Good, even if this were in Best Picture, it probably would not get editing, because sequels don't get nominated for editing a whole lot, at least when they're also in Best Picture. You know, like, if I'm not mistaken, oh yeah, like Dune Part 2 didn't get nominated for editing, Avatar, Fire and Ash did not, Avatar The Way of Water did not get nominated for film editing. So, yeah, again, we'll have to see how everything goes, but, yeah, so, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Frankenstein, again, I just kind of have it in there, but, again, I don't think it's gonna get nominated for Best Picture, so probably not. Smashing Machine, it is a sports movie, and same thing with F1, the movie, but, again, they're not in Best Picture, so I'm not gonna entertain those. After the Hunt, Hamnet, Testament of Van Lee, House of Dynamite. I'm just not confident in those movies getting Best Picture nominations, so I don't really want to fully, like, predict them, so probably not. Then, we get to production design. And again, look, guys, I know it doesn't make sense for Sinners to get a win for production design. Sure. But at the same time, I can't justify anything else. I just can't. This is a category that is so entrenched in Best Picture these days. In the expanded Best Picture era, the only 2 films to win production design without a Best Picture nomination were Alice in Wonderland, which won out of a complete surprise, winning 0 precursors, and kind of just continued that trend of, like, movies getting nominated for production design that are Tim Burton movies, and they ended up winning. It just kind of continued that trend. And then after that, you have The Great Gatsby. But that's like, those are the only 2 films in the expanded Best Picture era that got production design nominations that were not in not nominations, that got production design wins and were not nominated for Best Picture. I don't want to bet on a non-Best Picture film. Like, what was that movie called? Babylon. Babylon taught me that, like, you need to be in Best Picture to win this category. Like, you need to be in Best Picture. So, I don't have Frankenstein in Best Picture, so I'm not going to predict it to win. And really, the only other film that's in Best Picture that I have in production design is Avatar, Fire and Ash. And I don't know if that's going to win production design. Again, unless, like, somehow, like, Avatar does, like, the big, like a big 180 and manages to win this category. Whoa. But then again, I guess you could also argue that, 2022 was a lot more competitive. Like, in a weaker year like this, could Avatar have won? I'm not sure. But yeah, I have Frankenstein getting nominated. Wicked for Good could probably get nominated, but I don't know. I will admit, I'm not seeing a whole lot of new sets So it could fall off. There's a good chance Wicked for Good could fall off, especially with being a sequel. It's like, well, it's not going to get every category it gets nominated for, so, And then there is the last one, and I'm not going to lie, like, the last, the fifth slot's not really that competitive. It's like, it's kind of, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Very, non-competitive. So I'm just going to go with Fantastic Four First Steps. Everyone's loving the production design in the film. It's like a blend of a period film and a sci-fi film that might like get nominated. And granted, they're like, the only MCU film to get a production design nomination is Black Panther. But you could also make the argument that like no other MCU film before or since Black Panther has had production design as showy and large scale as Fantastic Four. So I think that like it could get nominated. And plus, like a lot of the sets like were practical. I mean, granted, the practical thing isn't entirely a factor here because like they do nominate CG sets all the time, like with Avatar. But still, I think there honestly is a very good chance that Fantastic Four could get nominated for production design. It kind of has that kind of Jetsons feel to it, you know? Kiss the Spider-Woman, if they want to go more traditional production design, they could go for this, but I don't know how strong of a contender this is going to be overall, considering, it's not even really, going to the fall fests. But surprises can happen in the tech categories, so we'll have to see. Begonia, it's a little bit too contemporary, and it's not completely interesting enough to get a nomination, I don't think. But again, we'll have to see. Marty Supreme, this is a period film, but again, nothing about the production design seems particularly showy, so I don't know about that. Dracula, the Luc Besson Dracula movie. I would say watch out for it. I mean, because, like, it could squeeze into some categories, to be honest. And again, there's not a lot of competition, so maybe. Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, the production design doesn't look that interesting, and even A Complete Unknown couldn't get that at the Oscars. No Other Choice, probably not. Ballad of a Small Player, I don't know. Mickey 17, if it wants any chance at a nomination, like, production design is its biggest prospect. And again, we've seen weird things happen, like Passengers got nominated for score and production design, so, like, hey, maybe Mickey 17 surprises here. We'll have to see. The Testament of Anne Lee, The Phoenician Scheme, Hamnet. I don't think those are happening. Anyways, let's move on to costume design. Yeah. Sinners probably could win this. Now, I will say, this is a category where you don't need to be in Best Picture in order to win. Like, you can win as a non-Best Picture film. Look at Cruella. Cruella won this in a handbasket a few years ago. And also there was, what was the movie called? It was Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. But would that have gotten into Best Picture in a year of 10? I don't know. But still, it did not get nominated for Best Picture, but it still won. So, like, yeah. And then there have been other winners. I'm trying to think of what else. Like, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. That one, costume design. Yeah, it can happen. But I'm going to go with Sinners for now because there are a lot of different costumes. And plus, like, the most memorable scene in the movie, the I Lied to You scene, it's going through, like, decades of different kinds of costumes. And it's, like, very, entrenched in the culture. And it's, like, I feel like that could definitely boost up Sinners there. Plus, with Ruth E. Carter doing the costumes, it might, that might go, ooh, people might go, ooh, Ruth E. Carter did the costumes for this. Yes. I'm trying to think, because, and I know some people are going to say, well, I mean, some of the costumes were originally made for Blade, but it's like, a lot, the costumes that were originally made for Blade before that version of the film got scrapped, they were, those costumes were used for, extras and stuff, and I mean, so what I'm assuming It's just like it's just like a few background extras in Sinners that have like Blade costumes. And it's just, but it's like, that's not the main focus of the costumes in the film. Like, I think the costumes that you're supposed to pay attention to, those are the ones that are original for Sinners. And so I feel like it could still win off of that. But still, there is Frankenstein. It does have some very big, lavish costumes. It could probably get that. Wicked for Good, it could probably get nominated, but at the same time, you know, you look at Dune Part 2, that didn't get nominated. So it could be vulnerable here. Kiss of the Spider-Woman, again, it could get a costume design nomination here without being in Best Picture. And again, lone costume nominations aren't the craziest thing in the world, so maybe. And then there's Marty Supreme. There's a bunch of like characters with like period costumes. And plus, one thing I've kind of noticed is like the costume designers really like it when there's like the silhouette. You know, when there's like a character or like a main character in a biopic, and they have a very recognizable silhouette, a very distinct silhouette. That's kind of what helped Oppenheimer get nominated, and that's kind of what helped what was it? A Complete Unknown get nominated, because even though it's not like big, lavish, you know, dresses or anything like that, it's like the pure silhouette. And because I was watching like the nominees for the. Because the Academy put out this video for like the costume design nominees for the year where Poor Things won, and when they were talking about Oppenheimer, because I was like, why did Oppenheimer get a nomination? Again, they brought up the whole silhouette thing, like how the silhouette of J. Robert Oppenheimer had to be very obvious from the costumes. Like you could just see a silhouette of him and go, that's Oppenheimer. And I guess the same thing, I didn't see them say this about, you know, about A Complete Unknown, but however, you know, that's probably the logic they went for with The Complete Unknown too. It's like, you just look at it and it's like, yeah, very distinct silhouette. And that's kind of why I'm kind of floating between Marty Supreme and Springsteen. I mean, hell, like literally look at the teaser image for Springsteen Deliver Me From Nowhere, where it's Jeremy Allen White as Bruce Springsteen. Very, very iconic kind of silhouette going on. So that could get nominated. And again, Marty Supreme might as well. I'm giving the edge to Marty Supreme because it looks like it's just going to kind of have more costumes, but again, very distinct silhouette they have going for Timothée Chalamet, but we'll have to see. Dracula, maybe, but at the same time, like one thing I kind of noticed with the Luc Besson Dracula from the trailers, I haven't seen the movie yet. It looks like it's drawing a lot of inspiration from Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. One could argue too much inspiration, to be honest. Like, it looks a lot like Bram Stoker's Dracula. So I'm not sure if they're gonna nominate it though. But again, we'll have to see. And hell, maybe when I watch the movie, it's not gonna come across that way at all. We'll have to see. Fantastic Four: First Steps, again, not impossible. Again, they do have like the sci-fi period costumes going on, so maybe. Testament of Anne Lead, the costumes don't look that showy. Hedda, not impossible, but I don't know. Hamnet, I don't know why people are trying to predict Hamnet for costumes. It's like, the costumes don't look that impressive, guys. They just don't. Phoenician Scheme, Downton Abbey, the grand finale. Again, probably not, but we'll just have to see what happens. Then we get to Best Makeup and Hairstyling. And I'm mainly, like, when you look at this list, I'm mainly prioritizing the prosthetics films. Because, sure, we do get, like, a couple films, again, in the short list that are not prosthetic films. And mainly kind of focus on the hair or, you know, like, you know, kind of makeup, you know, like the, ooh. But it's like, you know, for the most part, when it comes to the actual nominations, they usually go for the prosthetics. Now, one could also argue, well, Wicked got nominated for makeup, and that didn't have a bunch of prosthetics. That got nominated for hair. Sure, but also Wicked had Munchkinland, and they all had, like, crazy, like, Miss Frizzle hair. So it's like, it's not just hairstyling, it's like really crazy character hairstyling. Whereas something like Barbie didn't get in because it's mostly just contemporary hairstyling. Still, I am still predicting The Smashing Machine to win this, as long as people don't hate it like they hated Maestro. And I know people are going to say, oh, come on, Christian, the Maestro hate didn't affect it at the Oscars. It didn't affect it in nominations, but it sure as hell affected it in wins. Because why else would the makeup have lost at the Oscars when even even though it was so clearly supposed to win? I think what it came down to was, they didn't really, in terms of, again, it did, the hate that for Maestro didn't hurt it with nominations, but the lack of passion towards Maestro cost it any wins. So there's that. So as long as the Smashing Machine can just avoid that, and people don't think it's pretentious or stupid, as long as they like it enough, it could, in fact, win makeup. It could just do that, because they do transform Dwayne Johnson quite a bit, and even more than this poster shows. There are a lot of images from the movie that have been released, and Dwayne Johnson at times looks unrecognizable. There's even this one where he's or whatever. It's he looks like he's in the ring. He's kind of looking up. His head's shaven, but his eyebrows look kind of strange. And they changed his nose. They changed a lot of things where it's you kind of recognize him as Dwayne Johnson, but you also kind of don't. If you were told that this is not Dwayne Johnson, you go, okay, I guess it's not Dwayne Johnson. It's crazy work. I think it could actually win. And then there's Frankenstein, which also could win. Because again, makeup and hairstyling is definitely a category where you don't need Best Picture to win. You can win this category without being nominated in Best Picture. Look at Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Again, that won without a Best Picture nomination. The Eyes of Tammy Faye, The Whale, Bombshell. Let's see. Trying to think of what. Oh yeah, Suicide Squad. That won without a Best Picture nomination. So, odds are we could probably get a film that's just not in Best Picture this year that wins makeup. So yeah. The Christy Martin biopic, I think that, that has a pretty strong chance, because not only are we gonna see, the boxing wounds, which that wouldn't be enough for me as is, but apparently the movie's gonna be going from, the 90s to the 2010s. That's a pretty big age jump. So we might see some, somewhat old age makeup with the Christy Martin character in this film. So that could happen. Wicked for Good, maybe. But also at the same time, I'm not sure what else they could add to it. That is also the problem. They didn't really add much to Dune Part 2's makeup. And, really the only new thing we had was Austin Butler's character. But even then, he was kind of already the same kind of being that other characters were in the first film. So they didn't really add much to the makeup. So Wicked for Good could definitely be that film where it's it's just where it just kind of turns out to not be adding a whole lot of makeup, unless let's say the Tin Man and the Scarecrow are done with makeup. But I don't know. Something tells me that they could just be CGI characters. And it would definitely help with the secret of it all. It would definitely help, keeping it all a secret. Considering the lead, even though granted, everyone who's already seen the Wicked stage show already knows what happens. But again, I don't know. The Wizard of the Kremlin, this is just kind of asking for a makeup nomination, because they're turning Jude Law into Vladimir Putin. I'm not sure how much prosthetics they're going to put on him. I'm very curious about that. But we'll have to see. Superman, they got the Metamorpho character. I think that was done very well. But, however, the only, James Gunn film to get nominated for makeup was Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. I mean, hell, even Guardians 3 didn't get nominated. And I thought that should have won. That was crazy. But, maybe they're that impressed with Metamorpho. But there's not really any other characters that could get nominated. I mean, they do have Mr. Terrific, but, I guess, because technically they got, the T plastered onto him and the black makeup, the black lipstick. but I'm not sure how well they're gonna or if they're really gonna pay much attention to that. But then they also got Guy Gardner, which is a little wacky hair going on. So it's not impossible. Superman might happen, but I don't know. But again, if Guardians 3 couldn't get in with the Humanimals, I don't think Superman will. At least not right now. Wolfman, I mean, maybe it is like, the interesting makeup. But again, just because the Oscars nominated like a couple horror movies in makeup with The Substance and Nosferatu doesn't mean it's going to happen every year. I don't think they're going to go all out on horror like they did last year. But again, who knows? I've finally seen Captain America: Brave New World, and yeah, they do have a character in there, and he's done with like makeup. It's the leader. I think his name is the leader. He's Tim Blake Nelson's character. I think it's Tim Blake Nelson's character. The makeup on him is pretty wacky. It's like, okay, wow, okay. But people just don't like that movie at all, and they just kind of forgot about it. But then again, I don't know. No one really liked, Coming to America, and that got nominated, and not only did it get nominated for the Oscar for makeup, but it swept the Makeup Guild Awards. But at the same time, this is not the same kind of makeup because unlike Coming to America, it's not like old age makeup. And not only is it not old age makeup, but it's also just one guy. Whereas Coming to America had a bunch of characters covered in prosthetic makeup. So I don't know. Dracula, maybe, but at the same time, again, I don't want to put too many horror movies in the same basket. And also, again, the makeup, this is where the makeup really starts to look like Bram Stoker's Dracula. Like, wow, that's just almost the exact same makeup. But again, I have not seen it, so I do want to try to judge for myself, but I don't know. 28 years later, I don't know. Zombie makeup just does not get nominated. They just don't nominate zombie movies for makeup. So it's just like, I just don't think they're going to do it. The Toxic Avenger, I don't know if this is even, is it going to be able to qualify for the Oscars? I'm not exactly sure. I mean, maybe that's not impossible, but we'll have to see how everything goes with that, to be honest. But the makeup is very good. Marty Supreme and Kiss the Spider-Woman and Springsteen, these are these are films that I could definitely see getting shortlisted, but they're probably not going to get nominated because of the lack of prosthetics or really crazy out there hair like Wicked. So, probably not. Then, we get to visual effects. Avatar: Fire and Ash, as long as it is in Best Picture, then it is definitely locked in. And granted, if it doesn't get into Best Picture and there are no Best Picture nominees in visual effects, then it's probably gonna win as well. But if this does not get into Best Picture and something else does, and they both get into visual effects, I do think Avatar could face a problem there. I know people call me crazy, but look, it could happen. It's not, at least to the average Academy voter, it's not Best Visual Effects, it's Best Movie with Visual Effects. So, yeah. And they could, again, I do think Avatar is in Best Picture. It's the only Best Picture nominee I have in here. And none of the other films are in Best Picture that I have right now, so solid right now. But yeah, Avatar I have winning. Wicked for good. Even if it misses Best Picture, it could probably still get nominated for visual effects. Then there's Fantastic Four. Again, Marvel movie. It's dealing with a bunch of different characters with different powers, and it's also set in space. So I don't really have much of a qualm with, I don't really think there's much reason to doubt it getting nominated here. Even if it underperformed at the box office, it's like, that doesn't really matter to me because it still got very good reviews. Like, if the movie got bad reviews, okay, maybe I wouldn't predict it. But, however, people still very much like this movie. So, the fact that it didn't do that well at the box office is not much of a concern. Then there's Superman, which, again, I've always said is the big question mark because, DC, or at least, DC Universe stuff and the visual effects branch haven't been the best of friends. At least, or at the very least, the DCEU. The DCEU movies have never even been shortlisted for visual effects. Not Man of Steel, not The Suicide Squad. The only film that did was Birds of Prey. But even then, I don't think you can really count that because that was a pandemic year. And, say what you will about that year, and oh, you can't say that was an asterisk. The one category where you have to say was an asterisk was visual effects, because none of that competition would have even been nominated if the pandemic never happened. I don't even think Tenet would have happened. So I don't even really want to count Birds of Prey getting in the shortlist. So pretty much no DCEU film got shortlisted. Now, yes, the Batman did get nominated for visual effects, but that is Elseworlds. That is not in the cinematic universe. This is a new universe, though. The DCU, not the DCEU anymore. This is the DCU. Will the visual effects branch be more receptive to Superman? This new Superman? We'll have to see. There's definitely enough going on. There's a lot of really fun effects going on. All these powers. Metamorpho has some really cool superpowers. Like he can, like if you don't know who Metamorpho is, he has the power to create like any element, and they do lots of really cool things with his powers. Like he'll grow like kryptonite from his hand or whatever. And there's one point where he kind of becomes Sandman from Spider-Man 3. So, like, basically, the fact that he could turn to any element, it does a lot. Like, there's a lot you could do with the effects there. Crypto looks fantastic. There are scenes where I thought that had to be a real dog, but no, it's just a CG dog. And I'm assuming even the scene where he's just kind of laying on Superman on the bed, like, I'm pretty sure even that was CGI. He looks that good. Crypto looks amazing. Again, there's just a variety of different characters with visual effects going on. And, oh my god, I know people are gonna try to compare this to The Flash. But, like, no, I think that's just the style of the cinematographer. The cinematographer just kind of likes to shoot movies like this. Or at least, like, the big action movies like this. But you compare this to The Flash. The Flash's visual effects are way less polished than this. Superman has so much detail in the effects. So much, like, better, like, contrast. It just looks better by a landslide than The Flash. The Flash looks awful with the effects. And I don't want to be mean, but it's like, God, the only effects that look kind of fun are the ones where it's like, Batman. They have, like, Batman doing some of the stuff, but that's also kind of obscured in darkness, so it helps work that way. But it's just like, yeah, no. Superman looks way better than The Flash in terms of the effects. I'm not going to hear anything about it. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, that could get nominated. They're doing a lot of visual effects stuff in there. But there is also F1 the movie. Now, I am tempted to put F1 the movie at number 5, but I need to see a visual effects reel, because apparently there are over 2,000 visual effects shots in this movie. I'm like, what? That's crazy. But the problem is, like, car racing movies don't get nominated for visual effects. They just don't. Like, with Top Gun Maverick, it was a lot easier because they're in the air, they're doing these dogfight sequences, they're shooting rockets at each other, going through CG landscapes. There's a lot you could do with the visual effects there. But F1 is not that, I guess maybe I could say is a little bit more simple than that. So, I'm not sure. But again, I have not seen a visual effects reel. I need to see a reel, and if I think it's like, okay, wow, there's a lot of CGI in this movie, and, like, maybe. I am keeping my eye out for it, though. Thunderbolts, I mean, for some reason I remember people saying, oh yeah, it's all practical. They did a whole featurette that they just do practical stunts in this movie. It's like, and I watched the movie, it's like, no, there's absolutely visual effects in this movie. There's a lot of visual effects. Are you guys insane? And it's not bad. It's not bad. Hell, it's really good, honestly. It's really good effects. But it's like, people are being duped once again into thinking, oh man, they said they did it practically, so that means there's no CGI in this movie. And it's like, no, there's a lot of CGI in this movie. Like, once again, it's just studios lying to the audience, just saying, oh, they did it for real on set, which means there was no visual effects augmentation at all. Classic Hollywood move. Like, I remember when they even did this for Barbie, like, oh yeah, there's no CGI in Barbie, even though there were so many blue screens up the wazoo. And again, done very well. But again, people are just lying. They're lying through their teeth. I don't know what I'm doing. Jurassic World Rebirth, maybe. Actually, no. It's going to get shortlisted, but it's not going to get nominated. It's not going to get nominated for visual effects. But I do think it's going to get shortlisted. Like, every Jurassic Park movie has been shortlisted for visual effects thus far. And at the very least, this one is better reviewed than the last couple. So, what does that say? And plus the effects just look really, really damn good. Like, oh my god, it looks great. So yeah, I think it's going to get shortlisted easily, but it's not going to get nominated. The Lost Bus, I saw another trailer. I'm on the fence about it. I need to see a movie. I need to see a visual effects. I need to see the visual effects reel, because The Lost Bus, again, it could either be very big and explosive kind of visual effects like Deepwater Horizon, where it's like really dynamic and there's a lot going on, or it's going to be like, 13 Lives, where there's some visual effects and stuff, but it's nothing that crazy, or at the very least nothing like as large scale as something like Deepwater Horizon. So I am holding out on that, but it's possible. We'll have to see. Tron Ares, I think it's going to get shortlisted, but I don't know why people are predicting it to get nominated when neither of the Tron movies have been nominated thus far. Tron didn't get nominated, and once again, I need to clarify, Tron was not disqualified from visual effects. It was not disqualified. Tron was eligible to be nominated for visual effects, and it was shortlisted, and they didn't withdraw the shortlist mention, so clearly they could have voted for it if they did. But the thing is, there was no visual effects branch at the time, and so it was mainly just like this miscellaneous group of technical engineers and stuff, and lighting technicians. I'm probably just using a bunch of mumbo jumbo words. Basically, people that kind of worked with the whole technical aspect of films. And they were voting for visual effects, but they consider the use of computers to be cheating, and they're like, no, we're not going to nominate a movie like this. No. But again, it was not officially withdrawn. It was not officially disqualified. They just chose not to nominate it. So I do want to clear that up for the first Tron. But then there's Tron Legacy. And that was in an era where it's just CGI galore. And that did not get nominated. And instead, Hereafter got nominated, which was, ironically enough, the supporting visual effects winner that year at the Visual Effects Society Awards. And weirdly enough, it didn't even get nominated at the BAFTAs. And you know what did get nominated at the BAFTAs for visual effects? What was it? Like, Toy Story 3. Why? Even in terms of like animated films of 2010, I would not think of Toy Story 3 as the most impressive visual effects achievement in animation that year. Like, a couple of them that would come to mind would be like Tangled, because of the hair, which contributed a lot to the film's budget. And also, probably more impressively, Rise of the Guardians, the Owls of Ga'Hoole. I mean, Jesus Christ, there were some of those shots that kind of looked pretty real back then in 2010. But still, Toy Story 3 made no sense as a visual effects nomination. I love the movie, but it's like, what? Still, Tron Legacy kind of stumbled at the end when it came to the visual effects race. So, yeah, I'm just not going to predict Tron Ares. Especially since Tron Ares is, coming into the real world. We're not even going into the Tron world all that much. We're just going to be seeing a bunch of Tron shit in the real world, and I just don't think it's going to get nominated. I don't think so. So yeah, I think it's going to get shortlisted, definitely, but do I think it's going to get nominated? Probably not. A Minecraft movie. One thing I've noticed, I've seen some visual effects artists, I saw visual effects artists react, and they do help me predict my visual effects choices. I mean, I watch their videos, and I look to see what they're impressed by. And I did end up maybe not at the end. I didn't at the end of the day predict Alien Romulus for visual effects, even though that was stupid of me. But watching their video really did make me go, ooh, okay, maybe I should consider this way more. I think at some points I even had Alien Romulus in my predictions, but I think I had Alien Romulus, I definitely did think it was somewhat possible. It was just kind of like the BAFTAs, and the Visual Effects Society Awards that threw me off. But ultimately, Alien Romulus did get a nomination, and because I was watching visual effects artists react, and they were really impressed by that whole scene where that spaceship is like going, like it kind of is like crashing into like this planet's rings, and it's like, zzz, but it's like very slow and very large, and they just hold on that shot a lot. So I think there is a like that helped, and also, you know, visual effects artists react did help me take Twisters a lot more seriously, because I was like, okay, they're really impressed by the simulation effects in this movie, so maybe it could get nominated, or at the very least it could get shortlisted. And ultimately it was shortlisted, and it was nominated for the top prize of VES, so that helped. But yeah, and so I recently watched their video where they talked about a Minecraft movie, and they were pretty impressed by like not only the environments but also like the realistic explosions in the film. Like it's like, wow, this is actually a very like, it's not just like some gaseous fireball explosion that you see in movies. Like it actually, they say that it actually feels like it has like kinetic power behind the blast, which I'm like, okay. And there are a lot of visual effects in a Minecraft movie, so watch out for that in the shortlist, I would say. Watch out for that. There's a lot of visual effects going on, and there's some stuff that's pretty impressive, so watch out for that. Mickey 17, maybe. I mean, it's not too competitive this year, but it's also not completely devoid of competition. So I don't know. We'll have to see. Lilo and Stitch. Stitch alone, like, is pretty convincing. I haven't seen the movie, though, and I'm wondering if there's, like, some space stuff that goes on. If there's, like, some epic space, some like, epic space stuff, whoa, maybe that could help it get in. I know a lot of people are going to do How to Train Your Dragon. Let me just look at Award Expert, and let's just take a look and see where people have How to Train Your Dragon, because I am not convinced. Yeah. People have How to Train Your Dragon in over Jurassic World Rebirth. I'm like, are you nuts? No. Jurassic World Rebirth clearly has much better visual effects going on. And with How to Train Your Dragon, it's like they don't nominate dragon movies. Like, what? I mean, like, the effects aren't necessarily bad, but like, clearly when you look at, you know, Jurassic World Rebirth versus How to Train Your Dragon, it's like Jurassic World stands up way taller. Almost like a dinosaur. But it's like, you know, and plus, like, considering Gareth Edwards directed Jurassic World Rebirth, he clearly does have a very, like, clear sense of, like, what to do with visual effects. I mean, God, he literally is a visual effects artist. So, I would say, like, you might want to consider Jurassic World Rebirth significantly higher above How to Train Your Dragon. I don't know why people are coming to the conclusion that How to Train Your Dragon is going to get nominated. Like, what? No. Paddington and Peru, they're like in the jungle. There's a lot of different things going on, but I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah. Oh, oopsies. But yeah, Captain America: Brave New World. It's going to make the top 20, but it's also not very well received at all. So it's probably not going to get into the final 10. Warfare, that depends on like how much visual effects are in the movie, but I'm not really expecting much. And I know people are going, and oh my God, on Award Expert, Sinners is at number 12. Guys, what do we need? How many times do we have to beat it into your fucking heads? It's not going to get nominated. Like, just because you're in Best Picture does not mean you're going to get a visual effects nomination. No. Will Critics' Choice nominate it? Yes, because they're basic little bitches. But like Sinners, what visual effects in Sinners? It's like the crows, like there's no, they're not crows, they're vultures. Like what? Like, yeah, the vultures in the movie, like yeah, there's like the burning, you know, barn metaphor thing, but like, no. Again, unless I find out that one of those Michael B. Jordans was like entirely CG throughout the entire film, all right, then I'll predict it. But no, guys, no. Sinners is just not the kind of movie that gets nominated for visual effects. Absolutely not. And I digress. Let's move on to sound. Sound. Best sound. And once again, Well, speaking of Sinners, I have it winning here. I know a lot of people are going to try to tell me, but Christian, it's going to be F1 the movie. It's F1 the movie. But I must say this. You want to know how many times a non-Best Picture film has won Best Sound in the expanded Best Picture era? I'll tell you how many times. Once! Only once! Even though, granted, this was a time when there was a split sound category in the sound editing and sound mixing year. And for Best Sound Editing in 2012, Skyfall, yeah, that won Best Sound Editing. But it tied Best Sound Editing with Best Picture nominee Zero Dark 30. So do you really think in a year where they combined Best Sound and mixing and editing into one category, that Skyfall would win? No, it would have either been Les Miserables or it would have been Zero Dark 30. And without that Best Picture nomination, I can't predict F1 to win. I can't do it. The stats just don't add up. You don't win sound unless you're in Best Picture. And I don't get why anyone would say that Sinners doesn't make sense as a sound nominee. It makes complete sense as a sound nominee. Like, it has like the musical aspect of it, so there's a sound mixing element of it, and it has the gun violence aspect of it, the sound editing aspect. So it's like, you got the sound mixing and the sound editing right there. Like, why in the world would this not win Best Sound? It absolutely could. I mean, hell, if Emilia Perez could get nominated for Best Sound, because again, musical and guns. Why? Okay, granted, Sinners may be less guns. Actually, no, yeah, wait, there is the gun thing at the end. But it's also like, there's a ton of violence and action violence in general in the film. When you got action violence and music, you do pretty well in the sound category. So, like, it makes complete sense for Sinners to win sound. I would say absolutely so. Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, as long as it's in Best Picture, it's going to get nominated for sound. Even when it kind of seemed like unlikely, like this year or last year, where we had like 3 potential music films getting in for Best Sound. Because we had, well, what was it? We had Wicked, we had A Complete Unknown, and then we had Emilia Perez. Yeah, those got nominated, but it was also like, man, that's a lot of music films. Are they all going to get nominated? And then they all got nominated. And even when you look at the shortlist, they still had more music films, because there was Joker Folie à Deux. And that got shortlisted. So as long as Springsteen's in Best Picture, I think it's going to get nominated for sound. Avatar, Fire and Ash, I think this is just a no-brainer. I think F1 the movie is going to get nominated for sound, absolutely. But I just cannot have it win if it's not in Best Picture. That just does not happen. That you just don't win sound if you're not in Best Picture in this current era. If it was hard to do back in the expanded era where there were 2 sound categories, now that you combine the 2, it's going to be impossible. Unless there's just like no Best Picture nominees in sound, I just don't see how F1's gonna beat a Best Picture film, especially one like Sinners that has every reason to win. But yeah, Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, again, this makes sense, but you could also put in one battle after another, but again, there is a chance that it's just not that strong overall as a contender. We'll have to see. Tron Ares, that could get nominated, and that's funny because, like, remember how I was saying that neither Tron movie got nominated for visual effects? Both Tron movies did get a sound nomination, so that's not impossible. But again, now that we have combined the combined categories, it's like it looks like it could be somewhat unlikely now. But again, who knows? We didn't think The Wild Robot was going to get nominated, and look what happened there. Kiss of the Spider-Woman, again, musical. I do want to put it in the shortlist somewhere. Wicked for Good. If it gets into Best Picture, then yeah, it's easily locked in for a sound nomination. But I don't have Wicked in for Best Picture, so I'm going to assume no for now. All right, no. But now we have House of Dynamite, and I don't know why I'm moving that much. But yeah, A House of Dynamite. Maybe it gets shortlisted, but I just don't see this getting nominated for Best Picture at all. And so, yeah, like, I don't really think it's going to get nominated for sound, honestly. But still, let's look at some of these other films. The Running Man. I know some people were thinking, oh yeah, Running Man could get into visual effects. I looked at you look at the trailer. What visual effects? What visual effects in Running Man would ever get nominated? Like, what? Like, that's just preposterous. Like what? I'm pretty sure there's there's probably some visual effects, but like, what visual effects would be in Running Man that aren't in like every other movie that exists? Like, no, I'm not even going to entertain the idea of Running Man getting into visual effects after seeing that trailer. No way. No. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no to that. Say no to this. Oh, say no to this. But yeah. No. But yeah. Then we have Warfare. Warfare could get shortlisted, especially considering there's a lot of work did go into the sound, but it also didn't do well at the box office. And if Civil War couldn't get in for sound in the shortlist, Warfare might not either. Frankenstein, honestly, it could make the shortlist, but I don't see it getting nominated. Probably not. The Thunderbolts and Superman, probably not. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens, but I don't think they're going to get nominated. And then we get to original score, okay? Original score. Sinners is winning this in a handbasket. I don't see what other film could possibly challenge Sinners. If Sinners were to win any category, it would absolutely be score. I'm not going to hear any ifs, ands, or buts about it. But yeah, Jay Kelly, that's probably going to get nominated. And if it's going to be a stronger contender than Marriage Story overall as a film, then it probably might be even closer to winning score, even though I think Sinners are going to win overall. Jay Kelly, yeah, I could see it getting nominated. Marty Supreme, it could probably get a score nomination. It is very techno, which is a little bit of a hit or miss for the Academy, but I don't know, it could as long as it's in Best Picture, it would get in. Sentimental Value and Rental Family I have in because they're just Best Picture nominees. And that's the thing, for score, you need to prioritize Best Picture nominees. Do I think all 5 are going to be Best Picture nominees? Probably not. But however, your odds are going to be much better if you stick with the Best Picture films. I mean, even last year, when you look at last year's Best Picture contenders, and you look at the shortlist, yeah, The Wild Robot did get nominated for score, but however, the problem with that film, or not really problem with that film, I don't know why I'm saying problem, but like Wild Robot did get nominated, and that wasn't in Best Picture, but at the same time, there ended up being only 4 Best Picture nominees in there ended up being only 4 Best Picture nominees in the shortlist, because you had Brutalist, Conclave, Emilia Perez, and even Wicked. Wicked got nominated. So, the fact that they even nominated Wicked over challengers, it's like, okay, yeah, they really do stick to the Best Picture films. And again, you look at some of the other films in the past, like American Fiction got in over Spider-Verse, and Everything Ever All at Once got in over Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. And Pinocchio and Spider-Verse got nominated everywhere. So, again, stick with the Best Picture films for the most part. Again, we'll see how the shortlists go, but your best bet is to stick to Best Picture films in the score category, because they do, in recent years, they have really stuck close to Best Picture films. Unless it's John Williams. If John Williams enters the conversation somehow, then that changes things a lot, but until then, I'm going to go with Best Picture films. Is this thing on? If that drum kind of thing that they're doing in the trailer, if that's like the score in the movie, ooh, watch out, because it looks like it's going to add to the tension a lot. But again, we'll have to see. And it has to not be like Birdman, where it's like mixed in with modern music. Or not modern music, but like pre-existing music. If this is like an original like drum kind of thing that they're doing, maybe it could get nominated. Who knows? one battle after another. Again, I don't think it's going to be that strong in Best Picture to where it's going to get a score nomination. Probably not. Avatar, Fire and Ash, or yeah, again, because it's in Best Picture, I have to have it closer in. And then we get to the Best Picture films outside of the race. You have Begonia, maybe, I don't know, no other choice. Frankenstein, I could, like, if there's, like, not enough Best Picture films to fill up the score shortlist, then Frankenstein could get nominated, to be honest. We'll have to see. Ballad of a Small Player, honestly, same thing as with Frankenstein. Wicked for Good. Again, if this were in Best Picture, I would definitely put this in score, but we'll have to see. After the Hunt, The Testament of Anne Lee, I don't know. Those are somewhat Best Picture adjacent, so those are kind of like the ones I have on my radar right now. And then we get to Original Song. Alright, and yes, I don't have the Wicked songs. But again, that is because I don't have faith that it's going to be a very satisfying film for people. I think it might, like, again, I don't know, like, people are very mixed on the second act of Wicked, and I really don't think adding 2 new songs is going to change much. That didn't help Dear Evan Hansen, that didn't help Cats. It's like, look, like, I'll believe it when I see it. Like, if the reviews are still very strong and they're saying, oh yeah, very worthy sequel to the first film. Alright, sure. Until then, I don't know if I'm willing to bank on that. Until then, even if those songs got nominated, I don't think anything is going to beat I Lied to You from Sinners. I genuinely do not. Like, I Lied to You, that is like the scene of the movie, the most memorable scene in the movie. And imagine like them like recreating that scene at the Oscars. Oh my god, like where they do like the song performances, if they do song performances this year, that I feel like could do, like, that would do gangbusters. So I feel like that has the strongest chance of winning. Diane Warren, because she must get a nomination, otherwise she will unleash unholy hell upon everyone. And I actually do think Sinners is going to get a second, a second song nomination. I mean, with a movie with as many original songs as this, it probably is going to get 2 in, honestly. And I think the most likely one could be Last Time I Seen the Sun from Sinners. I feel like that has the most likely one, because it kind of has that, like, it kind of has a bit of that score that you hear earlier in the film. So, probably. I'll talk about some of the other ones here in a bit. There's probably going to be some original song in Zootopia, but I don't know if it's going to get nominated, but we'll have to see. Just Keep Watching from F1. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that got nominated. And then you got a couple of the other Sinner songs. Pale, Pale Moon. Very strong song. I don't know if it's going to have that much power compared to, like, Last Time I Seen the Sun. So I don't know. And then there's Dangerous from Sinners, which might be the most forgettable song. Probably also because, like, that's also not really in the movie. It's kind of like in the credits. Even though, granted, I think Last Time I Seen the Sun is in the credits, but, like, it's still sort of tied in to the movie. Like, because, if you've seen the movie and you see, like, the end credits, that, it could probably get in. But yeah, if there's a Bruce Springsteen song in Deliver Me From Nowhere, maybe, but I don't know, like, that didn't really help us with, like, Deliver Me with A Complete Unknown last year. Like, we didn't get, like, a Bob Dylan song that year. And then, then we get, No Place Like Home from Wicked and Girl in the Bubble for Wicked, yeah, so I've already explained why I don't know about those songs. I mean, if the film's in Best Picture, sure, they could get nominated, but I do have my hesitation in Best Picture right now. And then we get to K-pop Demon Hunters, which just today, it has become the most viewed film in Netflix history. And not only that, it has become the first ever Netflix film to become number 1 at the U.S. box office weekend. To become number 1 at the U.S. box office in its opening weekend. With a reported $19 million. This movie is a sensation, and it deserves to be, because I love this movie. This movie is, like, actually fantastic. But I'm worried that the Oscars are going to turn their noses up at it, because It's like, because like I've had to try to convince people to unsuccessfully to watch this movie, but they don't want to. But they just don't want to watch a movie called K-pop Demon Hunters. And I think the problem is that this is just not going to appeal to like anyone over 35 or something like that. Like someone in their 40s, it's like they're gonna be like, no, why would I watch a movie called K-pop Demon Hunters? And I fear that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna Lego Movie and Mutant Mayhem this shit. And I know people are going to go, well, those were IP movies, but it's also like, it doesn't matter. Like, when you call a movie the Lego Movie, or when you call a movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, even though they deserved to get nominated, they just didn't get nominated because, like, the Oscars were just too snobby. And I think the same thing is going to happen with K-pop Demon Hunters, even though I wanted to get nominated. But still, Golden is what they're mainly going to go with. Although, again, if it's just so strong, they could probably squeeze in another song as well. If I'm being honest, I feel like how it's done and what it sounds like are even better songs than Golden. But I don't know. And there's also the Saja Boys songs, but I don't know. I kind of forgot about those. But Golden is their main push. It's probably going to get a precursor somewhere, maybe Critics' Choice. I think the critics are going to go for K-pop Demon Hunters. Maybe Golden Globes, but then again, I don't know. If it gets a Golden Globe nomination, we'll talk about Best Animated Feature here in a bit, but we'll have to see. But like even The Wild Robot didn't get a nomination for original song. So that's kind of hard to say. And the Oscars really liked that movie. They liked The Wild Robot a lot. They even nominated it for sound. Like, God, and score. Like, even Spider-Verse didn't get that. Or Pinocchio didn't get that. We'll have to see, though. There's probably going to be a song from Avatar Fire and Ash. Yeah, and there's also going to be some Diana Lawrence song and Maserati, the brothers. But yeah, I don't know. I do feel like Sinners has the strength to get 2 songs in. Mainly if they, because obviously I Lied to You is gonna, I think that's gonna win, but I think out of all the other songs in Sinners, Last Time I Seen the Sun's probably gonna be the next most likely. Oh my god, and imagine they bring in that actor who, you know, plays the guitar in the film. If you know, you know, wink, 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 wink. I'm not gonna say who, but, like, if they get that guy playing the guitar, oh my god, that would be a really cool Oscar moment. So, in terms of performances. So, yeah. And then, the last category of this video, we have Best Animated Feature, or as I like to call it, the Desert Wasteland of Nothingness, because good god, this year is looking very weak. I'm defaulting to Zootopia 2 winning, I don't know, even though the only sequels to ever win Best Animated Feature are the Toy Story sequels, 3 and 4. There's just not a lot of other competition, to be honest. Then, you know, you have Elio. It didn't do well at the box office at all, but like, I don't know, again, the competition's so weak, and they nominated Elemental, they might as well go for Elio, I guess. In Your Dreams, I know people don't have this on yet, but I don't know. I feel like this could get in. It could get. It is a Netflix film, and granted, K-pop. We'll get to K-pop Demon Hunters here in a bit, even though I've already talked about why I think that's not going to get nominated. But who knows? But In Your Dreams might be considered more palatable for older folks. We'll have to see. I think the reviews will be pretty strong, but we'll have to see. Amelie, or the character of Rain. Again, perhaps, maybe. And then there's Arco. I put this back in the 5 because, my god, the cast they got for the English dub is really interesting. Like, they have people like America Ferrera and Will Ferrell, but there's also some pretty serious actors in there. It's like, okay, that's interesting. And granted, the reviews from Cannes, I think it was Cannes, they weren't the strongest. But, like, I kind of have to just default to it right now, because again, nothing else is making a ton of sense. Nothing else is making a ton of sense. Actually, who else is in this movie? You know, I need to look up who else is in this movie. Yeah, hold on a second. Okay, yeah, it's not showing me. Oh well, but yeah, we'll have to see. The Bad Guys 2. I mean, the first one didn't really get close at all. And the reviews for this one are about the same as the first film, so I don't know. And then there's K-pop Demon Hunters. Again, I want this to win. I want this to win, but I've been burned before with Lego Movie. I've been burned before with Lego Batman. I was burned once more with Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. The Oscars literally opted to nominate one of Pixar's worst movies ever in Elemental over Mutant Mayhem. What the hell was that? And again, they just didn't nominate that because they thought it was like too hip and too much for the kids. And I feel like they're going to do the same thing for K-pop Demon Hunters. I hope I'm wrong. Do not misinterpret me. I hope I am wrong. I want this to get nominated and I want it to win. I think it's very creative. It's very funny. It's very heartwarming. And especially emotionally, there's a lot that I connect with. But man, again, it's just called K-pop Demon Hunters, and I feel like they're just not good. The Oscars are just gonna be too snobby to nominate it. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I want to be wrong so bad, but however, I just don't want to risk it. Like I'd rather be surprised and happy that it got nominated, rather than disappointed that I predicted it and it didn't happen. But yeah. I Am Frank Kelda, maybe, like the real, I don't know if it's a teaser or whatever, but it's sort of like a behind the scenes thing with the animation. It looks really cool. It looks really creative and very vibrant. So there's that. I don't know about Scarlet though. I know a lot of people are predicting Scarlet, but having seen the trailer, I'm not convinced. Like, well, for one, it's an anime action film. And those don't get nominated at the Oscars. They just don't do that. Like Ghibli animated films have a hard time getting nominated anyway. Like, you know, like with Mirai. Mirai got nominated. And I think that's from the same director of Scarlet, if I'm not mistaken. But however, that's not this. It's still more of like a slice of more of a slower paced, calm kind of movie. Scarlet just looks like it's, again, big action, you know, anime film. And again, it I don't know. I just don't think it's going to get in. And also the animation looks very, very different from like your usual anime. Like it's like CGI, but they're also kind of making it look like anime. I don't know how I feel about that. But again, I don't know. It is doing a pretty impressive, like, you know, Fall Fest run. But I just don't think, I don't know, they just don't really go for, the Oscars just don't really go for the anime action films. I mean, they didn't even go with Suzume. Again, they opted to go for one of Pixar's worst movies over it. So there's that. The Twits, I don't know, I don't even know if that movie, like, is the movie even out yet? I don't know. Neja 2, oh boy, yikes. This movie has the English dub. And it came out in the US. And once again, no one watched it. That proves my point. The only place that gives any shits about Neja 2 was China. Like, in the US, no one's even heard of it. No one knows what Neja 2 is. Like, it's a sensation over at China. But do I think it's going to get nominated in a predominantly American Academy voting base? No. Like, and yeah, it has A24 doing it, but again, it just didn't make any money in the US. No one cared about it. I just don't think it's gonna get in. I think, again, it's just non-existent in any place that's not China. Anyways, then we get Savages. I don't care. Like, I don't think it's gonna happen. But yeah, guys, my God, those are my below the line Oscar predictions for August. And next week, it'll be Best Picture. Alright, it'll be Best Picture. And, you know, that's right before the Fall Fest start. Again, you can check out my memberships. They are $2 a month. I'm going to be posting a lot of updates when it comes to the reception that some of these films are getting over at the Fall Fest season. So consider becoming a member. It really means a lot. And you know, this helps fund the channel. Like, anything helps, honestly. Now, I want to pass the question off to you. What are your predictions for the below the line categories at the Oscars? Let me know in the comments below what you think. And be sure you hit that subscribe button. Because if you don't, the K-pop Demon Hunters are going to hunt you. how it's done, done, done.